Today's episode is one that we've had a lot of feedback about. We hope to give you some good insight on it. We don't have any silver bullets again, I'm afraid, because we turned out there are no silver bullets, but we do have, we think, some information that we hope is useful. Just a reminder to everybody during the session, please do drop any questions or comments into the chat. We will do our best to cover them during the webinar. If we don't get to them, we will respond to you as quickly as we can after the fact. In the meanwhile, if you can, please that will just stop any feedback noise.
I can't get this onto full screen.
All right, I will encourage, or pass over, I should say, to Gina and let her go from there.
You'll be able to.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
John, you guys, what we're going to be talking about today, as you can see, is the terms and conditions during challenging times. And we chose this subject, as John said, because we've been getting so many questions from people around this. Now, I tend to talk too much in webinars, so John is controlling the slides to keep me moving. So let's see how he does. So what we're going to do today is really quickly punch through those first three items. We're going to talk about your consumer rights, what you should include and shouldn't include in your terms and conditions, because what we really want to get to is that fourth part, where we want to hear from you guys. What has been working for you, maybe a grumpy customer, and then how you resolved it. And then we're going to talk about a few solutions that might be applicable to your business that we hope can help you and your customers. So I'm going to punch through. John, you're in control.
Yeah, I just want to add to there, we had very much hoped to have Ben from Refund Protect with us, but unfortunately he's based in the UK, so he had hoped to join us, but hasn't been able to, so I apologise, but we'll hopefully cover for him.
So you guys, one of the things that we wanted to do is really ensure that anything that we talked about today, that everybody is aware of consumer rights. Now let's have a little footnote here. If a business traveler books with you, that becomes a business-to-business transaction, and that's completely different. But when a consumer or an FIT, free independent traveler or guest, travels, books with you, what does the consumer rights body, what are they going to say is the consumer's rights? Whoa, I choked on those words. What our investigation found, and we encourage you to do your own, is that basically your terms and conditions are the drivers of the contract, okay? We've all seen some headlines lately and stuff in a New Zealand Herald where a lockdown happens and people get really upset and they complain, and you become part of a article or not. But if you go to the consumer website, you can equip yourself with the information that you need to feel really confident about how you write your terms and conditions. What was interesting to learn is there are specific pages for the various sectors in our industry. So there is actually a page for holiday rental rights. There is actually a page about holidays, about group tours, about flights. So we've put two of them here just as an example, but give yourself a Google search and find that what's specific to your sector in the industry, or you can look at these two links. But basically everything, they will put the consumer back onto your terms and conditions on your website and in your on your website and in your confirmation emails. So we wanted to do a second level. Okay, so that's the consumer industry that's going to be backing up the traveler. What is the industry, our industry bodies telling us? So this was kind of interesting. This was very interesting. Nobody would go on record. And B, there is no specific advice from any of our government, tourism agencies, or various organizational bodies or memberships that say, this is what we believe your terms and conditions should be during this challenging time. Everybody we talked to had two basic pieces of advice. Businesses, this is a quote from somebody, but they asked not to be quoted. Businesses should be as flexible as possible, and most consumers will be expecting full refunds to be available if they cancel for COVID related reasons. The bottom one is the summary of what most of them said. Just be as transparent at every step of the way and in multiple places, and be as flexible as possible, balancing your business's needs and then putting yourself in the consumer's position and going, well, how would I feel in this situation? So not a lot of silver bullets or insights there, but this is what the bodies or the industry is saying. Then we went, okay, what is the OTA saying? So here's two of our biggest OTAs for New Zealand. Yeah. Hey, you guys, I'm talking a lot, so just raise your hand, put in a chat question, ask a question, or share any point, please. What does Booking.com say? You guys work with them probably, not you, Mike, but what they're doing is they have this little red box on most people's pages that basically is an alert to check every single listing's cancellation policy, right? And this pop-up, check your booking conditions. So Booking.com is trying to ensure that the consumer, it's not often I go to bat for them, is trying to ensure that the consumer is aware of your booking conditions, because you can sign up for different levels of cancellation policies. Airbnb, they have their 4 different terms and condition policies that you can sign up for also. So
if I can just jump in there quickly, what I think is really valuable in here, particularly on the Booking.com one, is they've stated a date. So yeah, it's something to look at in your own terms and conditions. Any bookings from X date gives yourself some grounding. This thing is not new. We've now been living it with for 18 years. So the travelers
18 months.
18 months, sorry. The travelers
Feels like it.
Travelers aren't allowed to be surprised by this. Okay, so this is one of the areas where you can provide some definition and give yourself a backstop to enforce terms and conditions when you want to.
Cool. We wanted to show some examples because we often get asked, so what's an example? How can I do this that aligns with my brand or that's graceful without making my website ugly with, you know, COVID clean and terms and conditions and cancellation policies? Shout out to the George, because what they've done on their home page is just done a COVID-19 alert. And then you can discover more, and it shares. This is how we operate under each level. It's like fantastic, real clarity. This is our cancellation policy. This is our COVID clean. So on the home page, they've got a nice little tidy area, and you can go to one page where it's really clear. Then in the booking, this is so important. It is clearly outlined free cancellations. Yeah. So you do on their booking flow. It does have the clarity on when you can cancel, what you can expect on getting back or refund or rebooking. So this is just one example. The Heritage Hotels, they don't have this right now, you guys. This was taken from a couple of weeks ago, but they had this on their homepage really, really beautifully, again with their brand. And what's really nice about this one is that they use the word trust, okay? Because that's the trust and the confidence that people are looking for right now. And when we say people, it's ourselves too, right? So we're looking for trust and confidence to book. If I book this holiday with you in October or November and things are still iffy, what can I expect? So again, they've made it clear, and they have links for people to go to the pages where there's full outline. So we get asked for examples. So that's what those are. All right, now this is all to you guys. Let's have a big shout out and let's bring up everybody's chat and faces. Has anybody had a grumpy customer, but they were able to turn it around? Does anybody have any specific questions on terms and conditions that we can all discuss? And if anybody's being shy, that's really funny because this has been the biggest question we've been getting at Tomahawk lately in ResBook.
Please drop it in the chat and we'll certainly make sure we come back to it at the end.
Okay.
I'll share with, can I share with what we've been doing?
Yes.
Of course, please.
So we, at Lavender Hill, we just decided our reputation was more important than not refunding. So right from the get-go, I always spend a lot of time getting to know who's coming to stay here first of all, so that there's no surprises, and we just keep open dialogue. So we've just this week I've refunded 5 bookings, and somebody had actually paid the full amount, so that hurt. But you know, the thing was, even though because it was a wedding group, they couldn't have their wedding until it's level 1. Well, that's never going to happen. And I did, the first thing I always offer people is I say, look, let's try and find you another date. But subsequently, there are no new dates because everybody's been rebooking. So we just decided, and what we're finding is we're lucky we've got the online shops of people that were cancelling the accommodation have actually gone on to buy some of our products and also recommended us. So it's
nice.
Yeah, so that's the best you can do. I think things, once the vaccination rates go up, we won't be having this conversation.
Yeah, let's hope so, Trish. That's what we're all hanging our heads on, and good for you for really putting the traveler first and taking that big bite and refunding. Like you said, it is about creating goodwill, and hopefully they come back for you. Thankfully, you have an alternative revenue stream that you can point them to. So good on you. That's fantastic. It's a hard call to make. Especially when you feel out of control. But hopefully by the end of this little 30-minute conversation and webinar, we can hear some more stories and people's advice on how they're handling it. Yeah, cool.
So just coming back to summarize some of those points. As Tricia said, flexibility is key, right? By all means, stand by your terms and conditions, but we all know there's some travelers out there whose role in life, their goal in life is just to bitch and complain, right? So when you get them, put them over there, treat them, get the best outcome you can from them. We're hearing that the vast majority of travelers are happy to rebook and reschedule, but some will absolutely dig their toes. What you don't want to be is the front page of the Herald and the latest social media story, right? So that's where we say use some flexibility, use some, do your best to manage the situation case by case.
Well, can I just hop in here? Because what we've got to realize is that whilst we haven't got any European visitors, the European laws basically said if you haven't provided the service, you have to refund. And now the service can be cancelled for any particular reason in Europe. And if you ain't done anything, you can't. You may be able to take a bit of administration costs out of it in Europe, but that's about it. And so we need to keep that in mind for when things do finally open.
Nice,
Very
Nick.
good point, Nick. Thank you.
Hey, Georgina at the George had a really great question to open up the conversation. And that is that a lot of people are booking through the OTAs just to use their member discount, right? But then contact the accommodation direct for the refund. Is anybody else experiencing that? And as she asked, what's your dialogue? Oh, yep. Looks like, Georgina, you're not the only one. And Carol has suggested that she's invited them to cancel through the OTA.
Thanks,
anybody?
Carol.
Yeah.
I have through booking, if it's booking.com, you have to do, I've had to do it that way because I can't, booking.com, you can't actually cancel if you're the provider. So you don't have any way around that one. I find Airbnb a nightmare to work with. I think everybody would be in agreement to that one.
That's their modus operandi. It's also important, guys, when they are reaching out to you directly, they're contractors with the OTA, right? So yes, you must loop the OTA back in.
Yeah, we all know that Airbnb is getting a whole lot of bad press at the moment. There's some very silly people out there.
And that's why I say you've got to account for the hopefully it's less than 10%, but the percentage who are just going to play merry hell, as we all know, the vast majority actually do understand it, are considerate. So clarity and transparency, and really, as Gina's pointed out, have it on, refer to it on your homepage. Make sure it's very clear in your terms and conditions, or that your terms and conditions are very clear and they're presented in multiple places. It's in your footer. Obviously, most booking engines will require this, but they have to click that little box to be able to complete a booking that says they've read your terms and conditions. We all know they won't, but as long as they've told you they have, that allows you your coverage. And then reinforce them in your confirmation email. So it really is, tell them once, tell them twice, tell them 3 times, tell them 4 times. Keep that messaging very clear in all communications. And it can just be a link in your footer, but make sure it's there.
Just another thing, when we do finally open up, and we're already offering free cancellations at the moment, when we do finally come to that situation, we might all have to adjust our cancellation policies once again, because as the last time, a couple of weeks ago, I said that everybody in Europe, everybody around the world is very aware of what's going on. And if they make a booking with the realization that they should fully inform themselves of the conditions of traveling to New Zealand, whether they're going to have to stay in MIQ or in the future they might not have to do that, but they've made a booking, and we need to maybe readjust our terms and conditions once that happens.
Very good point, Nick. Thank you. And that's where dating the changes and stipulating a foundation date of any changes is so important.
And we definitely, Nick, will be, one of the things we're going to be talking about next is some opportunities for how to cover yourself, because anybody that watched the last episode, which was where I shared my experience traveling through California during COVID and talking to a lot of people and learning about what's happening, excuse me, in the US, where people are already traveling, is there's 2 things that are happening. There's something that's called vacation stacking and vacation ghosts. Okay, so what people are doing is they are booking their dream trip, which is their trip A, and then if anything gets canceled, they've got a B, right? So maybe somebody's going to plan their trip to New Zealand, which is their dream trip, but then let's say they're from California, they're also going to plan a road trip around the US in case New Zealand shuts down or in case something happens, right? So you need to be aware of that. And the second thing is the ghost. And those are people that unfortunately are just planning dream trips and booking them. And they know it's all free cancellations through booking.com and others, so it's more an entertainment. So we are going to, that's why we're talking about terms and conditions, and we'll keep looking at opportunities for now when our borders are closed and when they open.
Yeah. The last point here, because we know from the statistics that actually over half the bookings you will get are not through OTAs or off your website, so actually by people contacting you directly. So everything you do on your website could be bypassed. Now, they've probably visited your website, they've undoubtedly done research, they've hopefully found you on an OTA or through one of the various channels. So again, if they're coming direct, that's no opportunity or excuse for them to say, I didn't know. So please ensure that in your email footers and every piece of correspondence, you clearly point to your T's and C's and say that this booking is subject to these terms.
I'm just going to answer Mary's question real quickly from Olive Rabbit. In regards, she's asked, what's everybody's opinion about accepting vaccinated versus non-vaccinated guests? I'm going to point you, Mary, to TIA, Tourism Industry Association, are actually doing a webinar this week on how to position yourself as an employer and as a business in enforcing vaccination for either your staff or guests. So we'll point you to TIA, Tourism Industry Association. You don't need to be a member right now, which is very generous of them, to sign up for any of their webinars.
It's 2 o'clock this afternoon.
There you go, Rima. You're
Okay.
always a great source of information.
Oh, well, but I know I'm sitting in front of a screen today.
Fantastic.
And what's really relevant there as we open up to international markets is you will see that it's now standard practice that there is very much a differentiation between vaccinated and unvaccinated. So what you choose to do is obviously up to you, but your international guests will be expecting some level of differentiation between vaccination and unvaccinated. All right, we'll keep moving here. Sorry, Mike, yep.
Just a quick one. If anybody's travelled here by aircraft, they're likely to be fully vaccinated because otherwise they're not going to be able to travel, I imagine. So I don't see that we'll have a huge problem with overseas guests if they've flown here. Cruise ships, no idea. But
I hope that's the case, Mike. I really hope that's the case. It is what they are discussing. Again, you know, this is at a government level. They are talking about only accepting people that are vaccinated. I found it interesting that when I was in MIQ a couple of weeks ago, there were people that weren't vaccinated.
Yeah, and obviously Kiwis returning, they can't stipulate that. So again, it's a really interesting topic, Mike, and we'll do a session on that coming forward because I think that will be something that we're all going to talk about a lot. So coming back to T's and C's, exclusions, what do you keep out of your T's and C's? Anything that places you in a position you don't want to support is the short answer. So you make sure when you go through your T's and C's again, and I agree with Nick, you probably want to do this every 6 weeks to 8 weeks right now because things are changing. If there's something in there that you don't want to stand behind, get rid of it. You will need to probably talk to your lawyers and at times and make sure what you're asking for is valid. You're going to have to do some research through the various information websites, but you know, it's all about making sure you can protect yourself as much as possible. So the next thing we want to do is just talk about one of the options that can help you. This is a product we found and launched last year called Refund Protect. We went and found this product because we saw so many of our clients, just the pain that you went through in the sort of second quarter of last year, having to push all those refunds out to travelers. And we all know that millions and millions of dollars left the New Zealand economy and left the travel economy. And yeah, we're still struggling to get it back. So the idea behind Refund Protect is it's cover for the traveler. It's not insurance for you. It's not cover for you. It's cover for the traveler, and it's booking protection, and it covers a myriad of things. The only thing it doesn't cover is when governments close borders. However, what we now know, and going back to Trisha's comment about the wedding, because we've had this scenario, when someone in New Zealand couldn't travel to one of our operators because of the restriction on the number of guests, so therefore the wedding could not take place, that was covered. So in that instance, the traveller gets any monies they've paid fully paid back, and the full amount of the deposits they've given you, you keep. So the whole idea of this protection is to keep money in your pockets and to keep your travellers happy. And we do feel that as international travel increases, this will be of even more interest to the traveller, because it really de-risks the what if. Again, your own terms and conditions will help protect you as to whether you want to refund or not, and you're still eligible to refund if you want to. But if they've taken this cover, and it's an optional cover that comes in at 10% of the total booking value they're making with you, of which you get to keep a small amount. So there's a little bit of a revenue clip here as well. But if they've taken the cover, and under 99% of situations, if they can't travel, they will get their money back and you keep the monies paid. All right. So we've really found this to try and help you guys protect that revenue, because we understand how important it is. So even if they can't travel, you are still getting some cash flow, and that is obviously incredibly important to all of us. For those of you using ResBook, it's an option you can turn on very easily. If you need any help with that, reach out to our team, Phoebe and Priyanka. They'd be delighted to help you. There's a couple of things to do, because you want to update links in your email templates to make sure it's referred to these terms rather than your standard terms, etc. But it's a simple question for the travelers to choose as they're completing their booking. Would you like to upgrade, yes or no? It's rated 4.5 stars with Trustpilot globally, so it's got an incredibly good rating. It's very well received, and if you do any research on it, you'll find the feedback in the guests that have used it. Many of them have been completely surprised by it. I tried this because I expected to get refused, but you know what? They paid, and they pay within like 48 hours. It's very quick. For those of you not on ResBook or not using that type of product, we do have options for you. Reach out. We're happy to chat through what they are. But also, challenge whatever other booking system you've got. What are they offering in this way? Because it really is really important. And over and above that, just be open and transparent, as we've talked about. And I know, knowing many of you, that's how you operate. That's the way it's going to be. Sometimes you might feel you want to put a stake in the ground and say, no, bugger off. But yeah, we'll find those people who'll say, great, I'm going to use that to go straight to 7 Sharp or the front page of the Herald. So it's about, and I like the comment that Trish made earlier, it's about managing your reputation, right? Reputation management is fundamentally still what underlines all of this. So it's what are you doing? What can you do so that the outcomes for everyone are as positive as possible? All right. So questions, comments, we've made sure we've got a little bit of time left to cover any other questions you may have.
One of the things that I just want to say really quickly about Refund Protect is that I've had lots of conversations recently with inbounders who are also looking for a way to protect their customers. So that's really nice that inbounders are even looking at how they can offer Refund Protect to their customers, which is nice for you guys as suppliers, because then it means that they're not going to be coming to you asking for you to refund money back to them. So we did a lot of research to try and find, it's not a silver bullet because it doesn't cover government lockdowns. It covers everything else, most everything else. And we do look forward to having Ben join us so that you guys can ask any questions directly. But it is the closest thing that we could find to maybe not a silver bullet, but maybe a aluminum or aluminium bullet. Yeah. So do we have any other questions that have popped up, John?
No, we don't. Everyone, I can't believe we've completely filled you with all of the information you ever wanted. So I'm sure there will be some questions. So obviously continue to fire those through to us on the days, hours and weeks after this. I have to thank everybody for turning up. I think this is our best attended session. So it was obviously something that was of interest to everybody. You can check out the ResBook website for those who haven't watched the earlier webinars we've completed. You're welcome to go and grab those and have a look through them. We're here every 2 weeks. I'm not, sorry, go
Sorry,
Gina.
I was just gonna say, and you guys, the topics for each episodes come from you. So if you want to talk about something, you know, as Mary said, you know, let's talk about vaccinated guests or non-vaccinated guests. You guys let us know what it is that you want to talk about, and we'll put something together and get the conversation going. Because it isn't just about us with a monologue or advice or anything. It's about all of you guys coming together to work together on this.
And look, one last thing I will just add on the subject of reputation management. I've literally, just before we got on this webinar, I'm pleased to announce that we have a fantastic deal from our friends at Yonder, which we will be emailing everybody about, which basically says you can sign up today, sign up for the end of September, get access to their reputation management tools, and not pay anything till the 1st of January. So we highly recommend you check that out, because it will allow you to instantly get your Google feeds, your social feeds, your ResBook bookings all in one place and see what people are saying, so you can protect that reputation, because that is all we can control right now.
I'm feeling the subject of the next episode already, John.
All right. Hey, thanks, everybody. You have a wonderful day. We're pleased to be joining you in some level of freedom now and be getting our takeaways. And hopefully when we see you again, we're even more free.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great Wednesday.
Take care.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.